Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you very much for joining us here today. We really appreciate it. We are live streaming on the Fox 12 Oregon app, but you can always watch these segments afterward as well. So however it is you found it, thanks for doing so. Today, we are talking about an NBA legend, a Blazers legend, a basketball legend, and just a legend in life, Bill Walton. And if you are I'm a lifelong Blazers fan, so I'm just going to say it right there. And Bill Walton certainly holds a very near and dear place in my heart, and for so many different people. He touched a lot of lives, and it was just a little over a year ago that we lost Bill. But those memories that he made and those achievements that he had will last forever. And coming up, there is going to be an auction, actually, of some of his personal items and some of his pretty amazing items. Like I'm talking about NBA championship rings and jerseys, and we're going to be talking about all of that now. And to do so, we're joined by Dave Hunt. And as you can see behind Dave there's some pretty nice looking things that we're going to be going through here in just a minute. And by Lori Walton. And Lori, thank you very much for being here today, to both of you. I'm excited to talk about this and go through some of these things. But I think, Lori, if you don't mind, if we could start off, with you and I guess we'll start off with the auction itself and with these items of Bill's. Can you tell us what was the idea behind bringing up this auction?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank Dave Hunt and Hunt Auctions for putting so much time and care into presenting Bill's collection. The catalog that they made is really like a scrapbook of Bill's life. And when I looked through all the pictures, it just brought so many great memories. And I could picture all of the posters that are being auctioned off, where they were in our house. And especially like a lot of his tie-dye shirts. Bill, his tie-dyes were just such a big part of him. He not only loved them, but it was such a big part of his identity. And if I close my eyes, I can picture him wearing all of those shirts. And there's just so much love into a lot of the possessions that are in this auction.
Was that part of the reason for auctioning them off is to get those out there for other people?
Yeah, one of the things I love about the auction that Hunt has put together is that there's all different price points. You've got the MVP trophies, you have the rings, you have, the game-worn jerseys, which are, more high-value items. But you also have things like Bill's tie-dye shirts and his game notes and things like that really, to me, are so much of Bill. Like if you purchase one of his shirts or if you purchase his backstage passes or laminates, those are items that brought him so much joy and love. And they're not things that were just stored away. These are things that were in our house. And if anyone had a chance to watch ESPN's 30 for 30 that they did on Bill, they did a little tour of our house, and you could see that there is not 1 inch of space on our walls that wasn't covered by Grateful Dead posters or NBA pictures or family pictures. So these are things that meant a lot to Bill in his life, and they were a huge part of him, and it really gives you a peek into what his private and personal life was like.
I did watch that 30 for 30, so now I'm going to be looking to see which one of those things is on there as well. And that was such a great look into the life, of Bill and you and everything with that. For the auction, why was it important for you to put these up for auction and to get these out there?
Well, as much as I love my husband, I didn't want all of his stuff. His stuff is great, but I told our kids to take whatever they wanted, which they did. And then there was still a tremendous amount of stuff left over, as you can see by the catalog. And I just really wanted his things to find a home, places where people who loved him as much as we did could enjoy having a part of him and a part of his life.
That's so great. That's a very honest answer, and absolutely, and it makes sense, and this is something that for so many people out there who obviously love Bill Walton, this is an opportunity to, as you mentioned, have something, that was his, and to, get something that, makes them feel close. And to that, wrong button there. See, I mentioned before we started that I might press the wrong button. bringing you both up here. And Dave, can you tell us about, the auction itself and how that part works? And then I believe we're going to take a look at some of the items right there.
Yeah, again, we're equally grateful to Lori and the Walton family for allowing us to represent both Bill and them as a family. And as you asked about, it's sort of interesting. All the 3 decades plus we've done this and working with countless players and their families. As Lori said, there's certain things that are maybe sentimental that they will keep and should keep, of course. And it's so nice for these families to share these items with really the true fans of these great athletes and human beings in Bill's case, that'll carry forward. They become great stewards for these items and do some good as well. So it's obviously, an auction. Bill has such a national following between Portland and UCLA and Boston and all the different entities of his life. So it's an online auction that you can bid anywhere, of course, but you can bid live interactively ending on June 12th at huntauctions.com. So right now, all the items are up there. And you can bid interactively or absentee, and then it'll culminate with the live online auction on the 12th.
Nice. So, and again, as you mentioned, these are going to be good stewards of these items. These are people who are really going to care for them. And looking there, would you mind? Everybody can go to the website obviously and see some, but I'm seeing there right behind you some of these items. If you wouldn't mind showing us some of those.
Good teaser, right? So
yeah.
We'll start with the jersey. This is one of the game-worn jerseys from Bill's collection. Anytime you get a game-worn jersey, it's going to be a valuable item. But when it comes right from the primary source, right from the family or the player themselves, it really does add quite a bit of value and desirability to it. I believe the bidding's already around $30,000 for the jersey already, online. But photo matched, which is a technique for authentication where we actually find third-party companies to get images of the player wearing the exact jersey. So it's literally like a fingerprint as to them actually wearing and using it during gameplay. So that's really a special item, of course. And you can see the MVP trophy. And for all the Portland fans out there, I don't need to tell you what that means. 1978, and when Bill won the MVP, just an incredible figural piece, and from a display standpoint, impressive, but also very significant award. It's really, other than a championship, it's the sort of that crowning achievement that any player in any sport, for that matter, wants to win. And this was Bill's NBA MVP trophy, and this should be very significant in that $50,000 to $100,000 range.
Wow, yeah, that's the trophy right there.
That is it. MVP. You are looking at, and then of course, I don't know. We tried this earlier. We're going to see if we can get this, but
yeah,
we'll all know what that is. That's sort of the top dog, if you will. This is his actual Portland Trailblazers NBA championship ring. So, and you can see the images online, of course. But anytime you get a player award of that significance. And when you talk about not just any ring from that particular team, but the best player on the team, it's not unprecedented, but it's extremely rare. We've sold Roberto Clemente's things, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, to name a few. So anytime you get that premier player from a championship team, their awards, their trophies and game jerseys are going to be, obviously significantly more valuable than just maybe a trainer for the team or somebody involved with the franchise. So we've already had a lot of interest in the ring. We expect more as the bidding continues.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't get much more premier when it comes to the player side of things than Bill Walton. So that certainly makes sense. And I'm sorry, I like those older rings too. I like the 70s style rings compared to the newer ones. They've got too much stuff going on them. Like that just looks cool.
You can actually wear. The rings now are so big. I don't know how the players wear them.
Yeah, right.
A side note about Bill's Portland championship ring. He did give that to his father to wear. So
wow,
that's great. Yeah.
And so carrying that through the family, and this is something that somebody can have, and as going back to that word that you used earlier, like it's not just getting an item; it's being a steward of that, because that's Bill Walton's championship ring. And I'm sorry for everybody here in Portland, that means something.
There's a lot
big deal.
A lot of these athletes in the collections we've sold over the years. What we really take a lot of joy in is that the collectors and institutions and investments and people that are out there purchasing these things many times will loan them to museums or have them as part of celebration displays with particular teams, organizations, and I think that's just awesome. It's not only do they get to enjoy the piece, but so many of them are actually more than willing to share them, and that it sort of carries forward in a good way, as you said, not just being a good caretaker or steward for it, but also allowing others to enjoy it as well.
And I don't know if you have a total of how many items, but it sounds like there's quite a few in there.
A lot.
A lot. That's the total.
There are a lot of things, as Lori can tell you, and it was something Lori pointed out, and rightfully so. There are many, many things for everybody in here. There's many more things that are under $1,000 or under $500 than there are these really exceptional pieces we're showing during the piece. But yeah, there are hundreds and hundreds of items ranging from probably $100 to several $100,000 in value.
Well, in talking about these items, I mean, the items themselves, for anybody who was a champion or something like that, that's a rare item, but I think it makes it even more special because it belongs to Bill Walton, like that particularly. And Lori, just to ask you this, I'm sure you've been asked before, but what do you think was about Bill Walton that made him so special and had so many people were just so enamored with his lifestyle, with just the way that he was, the way that he carried himself, the way that he spoke to people, and really just made everybody feel good when they were around him?
Yeah, Bill was definitely a man of the people. He was the most grounded, down-to-earth person you'd ever meet. And the big thing for him, he had this gift of making everyone feel very special and very important. He had close to photographic memory. He remembered names, dates, places. I can't even tell you how many times we'd be like in the Portland airport and someone would come up to him and say, Bill, I met you in 1978 and blah, 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 blah. And Bill would actually remember the person and remember meeting them. And sometimes he'd remember their names. And I'm the exact opposite. So now that he's gone, I go places and it's terrible. I can't remember anyone's names because it was so easy with him that he just always knew their names, knew their stories. And he didn't care about what your station in life was. It didn't matter if you were, a gardener or if you were the president. He treated everybody the same. He gave everyone the same kind of respect and love. And he was not only an interesting person, but he was very interested in other people's stories. And he loved talking to people and hearing where they came from and what their dreams and goals are. And he was always encouraging people to, follow your dreams. I think he was a great example. He grew up in a very humble background. Both of his parents were incredibly hardworking, and they set great examples for him as, to work hard, to follow your dreams, to stand up for what you believe in. And I think one of the greatest compliments a fan once gave Bill is they said, Bill, you broadcast your games like you don't care if you're going to get fired or not. And which isn't completely true because he definitely, wanted his jobs, didn't want to get fired, but he also wasn't willing to compromise his beliefs for what other people wanted him to do.
I mean, there is nobody will ever broadcast like Bill Walton. I mean, that is a unique trait that I cannot see anyone ever matching. I mean, it's just the language he would use, his descriptions. I mean, I loved it every time he was talking on those things. Just like, what is he talking about this time? Like, I don't know where he's going with this one, but you know what? I'm going to listen to every word that he's saying.
Yeah, if you weren't a fan of the Grateful Dead, Bob Dylan, or Neil Young, I think it'd be hard to understand what he would say because he used so many references to lyrics in their songs. And, I think it kind of drove the networks crazy, but one of the things he loved about college basketball is that he never, ever said a bad word about the players. He felt that they were young students and, college basketball was supposed to be part of their education and not a job. So because of that, he always just said positive things about the players. And then, he broadcasted it for so many years for the NBA at the top level that he was just used to seeing a different type of game from college. And, it could be two completely different sports. And so for him, the college game gave him more time to talk about other things he loved rather than just talking about the play in the game. So he, whenever he went to broadcast a game, like at the University of Oregon or Oregon State, first thing he did was he would ask the sports information director to take him on a tour of the campus and take him on a tour of the surrounding area. He wanted to learn about the community and the state and the things that were important to the people in Oregon. He'd love to incorporate that into his games.
Wow. That makes perfect sense. I mean, when you would see him or listen to him, that care, that wanting to know, what people are going through. And I love these stories. Thank you, Lori. I mean, it's just fascinating, and such a good guy. There's something else along those lines too, talking about that. I know a portion of these proceeds are going to charity as well, or to an organization that Bill felt very deeply about.
Yes, a portion of the proceeds will be going to UC San Diego Health. And in 2008, Dr. Stephen Garfin, he had performed a spinal fusion on Bill. And before that, Bill was in so much pain that he, just did not have a life that was worth living, to the point where, he was borderline suicidal because he was in so much pain. And it was, if you've ever been in chronic pain, you can understand how debilitating that is. And what a lot of people don't realize is when Bill was at UCLA, he broke his back. And when UCLA's 88-game streak was broken against Notre Dame, Bill had played in that game with a broken back. And his back always hurt after that and just got progressively worse and worse and worse, to the point that, he finally didn't have a choice. He had to have a spinal fusion as well as a laminectomy. And thankfully, we found Dr. Stephen Garfin at UC San Diego Health. He's an amazing person, friend, and surgeon. The surgery was successful. And Bill, really owed his life to Dr. Garfin for giving him his life back.
Wow, and so that's where some of this is going.
Yes, the proceeds will be going towards the new orthopedic center in San Diego's Hillcrest neighborhood, which is where we live. And we're just so proud they're naming the pavilion after Dr. Garfin.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, even helping that out, going forward and paying that forward, the help that he received from all of that.
Yeah. And what was a nice thing, one of the outcomes of Bill's surgery, because it was so successful, he made it a point to speak to other people who were having back problems and to try to coach them through what they were going, to give them hope that with the surgery that they will be able to have a full life again. And it was funny because when he called people, at first they just thought it was a joke. They're like, "This is Bill Walton?" And they were kind of confused and just surprised that he would call them. And he was great because he not only called people before their surgery, but he called them right afterwards to see how they were doing and to remind them, it's a long, slow process. And he would always tell them that, patience was not one of Bill's virtue, but he would tell everyone else that they needed to be patient because his recovery from his spinal fusion took probably about a solid 9 months. So
that's a long time, especially for somebody who's not going to be patient and wanting to sit there and go through that process. But thankfully, he did find this doctor and was able to go through that, and then help out everybody else too. I mean, just incredible. Well, Lori, for everybody out there who's watching this right now and looking at some of these items that Dave has there, what would you say to someone out there who ends up with one of Bill's items?
That you should know the items were very personal to Bill. Winning the championship in Portland was huge. When Bill was at UCLA, they were expected to win. So the championships were important, but more important, I think, to him, the year that he lost at UCLA, that sticks out more in his mind than the championships did. And he would have bad dreams about the games that he lost at UCLA. And so at UCLA, it was expected that you were going to win the championship. And so he didn't really think twice about it. And then when he got to the NBA, he realized how hard it is to win a championship in the NBA. So to win the one in Portland was a huge, huge deal for him. And, as you know, his time in Portland had many highs and many lows. And I remember going back to Portland with him in the early 90s, and he was really nervous. He wasn't sure how people were going to treat him. And so he was grateful that when we were there, everyone was so kind and, loving and supportive and happy to see him. And he always said that the people of Portland treated him much better than he deserved. And he was always grounded in gratitude for all the love he got from the people in Portland.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's well-deserved. And that's amazing to hear. Well, for everybody out there who wants to place a bid on some of these items, Dave, can you remind everybody how they can go about doing that?
Yeah, if you can go to huntauctions.com, all the items are up there right now. Of course, you have to register online and get into the system to bid. But you can bid interactively as we speak, and then leading up to that June 12th date where the auction will go live, we can bid interactively online or via telephone. And again, we're just appreciative to any of the fans out there that want to take a look. And frankly, even if you're not bidding, just to take a look at the history that's in this collection. It's one of the more unique collections of its type that's ever been offered, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing, some of those things that are up there for people to, as you mentioned, even look at, place a bid on, and perhaps even be that steward of them. Well, Lori and Dave, thank you so much. I didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to mention or get out there for everybody. We've covered so much, but I just really appreciate it. If there is anything else you want to say, please do so.
Yeah, again, I'd like to thank Dave Hunt and Hunt Auctions for doing such an awesome job with this Bill's collection. It really is like looking through a scrapbook. And when I was flipping through the catalog the other day, I thought, I just feel like I'm back in my house, just seeing all the items. And I'm just so appreciative of everything that Hunt Auctions is doing. And I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful people out there in Oregon. We really appreciate all of you. And hopefully people will be able to get the items that they want. And I guarantee you that every item that you do bid on and receive, that it's a huge part of Bill. It wasn't just something that was, in a closet. These are things that we lived with and he saw and he loved every single day we were home.
Wow, and they were all over your walls.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, Lori and Dave, thank you very much for joining us here today. I really appreciate both of your time and to be here to talk about this and just share this with everybody and people have that opportunity to go there. And yeah, just thank you for being here on Fox 12 Now.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
You bet. And for everybody watching, I'm going to sign off. We're going to take a break, but I thank all of you for joining us too. This is Fox 12 Now. You can download the Fox 12 Oregon app. Great way to watch it. And of course, share this segment as well. That's it for now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.